the buildings tonight. So Stew's going to be doing his flood coating, his demo on that. So it's going to be pretty cool. A lot of people are showing interest in it, so it's going to show you the different process.
A little bit closer to the mouth.
Yeah, so Stew's going to be doing his demo on flood coating. So he's got it in different stages, just so you see the whole process. Obviously, we won't have time to do the whole thing tonight. We're going to have coffee. Eldon was nice enough to get us a coffee machine at Keurig. Him and his wife got it. It's pretty awesome.
That's great.
Yeah, right. Afterwards, we're going to have a little show and tell, and then we're going to have to decide on a new treasurer. Peter's decided to step down. He's got some trips that he's going to be doing this next year, so he opted to just kind of step back from his role. So we're going to vote for a new treasurer. So we'll be doing that, and then deciding on next month's meeting what we want to do. So yeah, I'll let Stu take it away.
Hey, thanks, Kevin. Hey, we did I did this demo like last year, year before, and there was a lot of interest in it. Last month, there people were asking me to do this again. So I've been working with this stuff for a while, and I found it pretty successful. I think a lot of you are quite interested in doing some of it, but I'll just say it right up front, don't be afraid of it. It's not hard to do, and it's very forgiving. You make mistakes, you can wipe it up, you can clean it up, you can sand it out, you can start over again. But a big thing that I've been concentrating on lately is the Manitoba maple, and how nice that red coloring is in the wood, that we always lose it a year later after we put a finish on our product. It's out the door and it looks really good for about a year, and then it turns brown. Well, I've been kicking around this epoxy thing with it, and I don't know for sure yet how successful it is, because I've just started doing it, so I got to give it some time to cure and see if it'll hold color. But my method of doing this is to flood coat bare wood and sand it back. And then after this dried, you're finished, you decide where you want to put your red, which I find I'm just basically following what is on the wood. And we just enhance it a little bit to keep it there. Anyway, how I do it is I put a second coat on, and while it's wet, I mix some color, the red, obviously. You can use any color you want to put it in on any of the pieces that you're doing, but with the Manitoba maple, we're doing red. And you just kind of dab it on, and then you flood coat again over top of that. So I'm going to show you my method that I have been using here on a couple of pieces. A couple of things you see here, that's one thing in particular is very new, that's my rotator. Because when you put flood coat on, it runs and it goes all over the place, if you have too much especially. To stop it from running and sagging and having bumps all over the place and running off the edge, you got to rotate it. I can do this on my lathe, but I don't want to tie up the lathe. So I've come up with this unit between Bert and I. This is a BDE, Bremner Delisle Engineering. No, thanks, Bert. Anyway, we can get into that a little bit more later if you want, but basically all it does is just turn it slow so that the flow of the resin, it won't bunch up. It'll look good when it's finished, supposedly. So anyway, my power arm, this unit I've had for a few years, and I use it a lot for different things. And as you can see, it's very agile and versatile to go anywhere. I want to work back here or out there. It turns, I can lock, well I can't lock this, but there's another flange that I've got that's solid so it won't turn. But I find this one to be more universal for me to just keep going with the one and it turns. And it's nice when you work on something like this to be able to apply your flood coat. So it's a handy piece. But going on from there, I got a few samples up here that we're going to probably, guys are going to be touring here and looking at what I've got, and it's at different stages. This is the only one that I've got that is complete. This is a sold piece. I have a customer that asked me to make this, so it's sold. So I like to be careful with this. I don't want to pass it around. Another thing that I've done, it's going to be for a show and tell, but it's also a wall plant coat. So it's sitting here too. These are pine coats with a T-light inside. I got four pieces of 5 pieces of Manitoba maple here that we could work with, but I'm not going to do everything because it's too much. I also have to transport it home. We got plant coat on here. I'm only going to be doing the inside. I won't work on the outside while it's here. It's going to be all over the place. So that's my plan, and I'm sticking to it. So, yeah, if you got any questions as we go? Sorry?
Can I pull the mic away just a little bit?
Is that better?
Tell the board.
How's that?
Perfect.
Got it. We'll try and keep it there. A couple of things I'll point out before I get started. The flood coat is messy, and what I use for cleanup is isopropanol. I buy it by the gallon. It's the cheapest way to buy it. That's about 35 bucks. Get a good look. 1 gallon lasts me 3 to 4 months, so it's not something that you go through a lot of, but you pretty much have to have it if you're cleaning brushes or just cleaning up your product before you put anything on it. It's probably a good idea. What else have we got here? Colors. I use, in the Manitoba maple, I've only been using the red. But coloring epoxy, some of the colors that I got are kind of a metallic flake-like, and it doesn't work very good unless you just want to sparkle something. For coloring it, the best way to go is with the liquid. And you'll see when I start working with this, in particular the red. I'm sticking pretty much, that's the main one that I've been using. And I'm probably going to, just use that tonight. But like I said, you can put any color you want on any wood that you have got. So, like I said, my emphasis is on Manitoba maple here tonight because it's the target that I have is to emphasize the red that's in the wood to try and keep it. So we're going to continue on here. I'm going to mix up a bit of resin so we can apply it on the inside of that and probably on this one too. And I'll show you how to do the red and what I do for coloring. So I'll just get right at it here. I'll show you my technique. I don't know if it's the right way or the wrong way, but it's been successful for me, and I haven't changed since I started doing this stuff. As you can see, a very small container. You don't need much. And mixing this stuff, be sure that you keep everything separate. Resin and hardener. I marked the containers, so that's what I've got. The resin that I have the 2-liter package. You can buy this stuff in smaller packages. You don't have to buy this. I get about a year out of this 2-liter package for what I've been doing. Yeah. I think if there's anybody else here doing as much as I am, a few balls and a few pieces like this, you might want to buy the 2-liter pack. The smaller ones are handy to just go a little bit less. And the amount that I use, I want to make enough for that inside, and the inside on this one. Yeah, see if I got anything left after, but you don't need much. So far as measuring this, I just eyeball it.
The 1-to-1 mix?
Yeah.
Is it 1-to-1 or 3-to-1?
No, 1-to-1, 50-50. When I pour it, I always clean the cap, under the cap, so it doesn't bunch up and get you a pile of a mess, so.
Always label your cap too, right?
And the cap is labeled too, yep.
Hardener cap on the resin doesn't come off. Trust me.
Not well,
Put a pair of pliers.
Okay, with epoxy and that you're working with when you're making a pour for something that you're going to mold, you want to evacuate the air out of it as much as you can. It's not necessary with the resin that I'm using for flat coat. It's on so thin, it's just, you brush it on like a paint. It's so thin. Any of the bubbles that are there, they'll dissipate the top. And if you use a torch to burn it off, it's smooth, it's fine. Important to mix this stuff for quite a while, really. You want to be sure that it's mixed properly. Try to get all I can out of here. The resin is thicker, as you notice when I poured it. It pours a lot slower. The resin is thicker, so I always pour the hardener into the resin. That way I can get the cup cleaned out pretty good. And then mix.
On a 4-minute timer?
Sorry?
Do you want a 4-minute timer?
No, it's okay.
So that epoxy still, what's the set time on that?
I can work with this for an hour, probably, hour and a half, and it'll start to stiffen up. Some of the applications, when you're filling holes and things, like you'll see on this bowl here, there's a lot of spots that I dug out because there was some bad pieces of wood, and there's voids in there, and I'm filling it with colored epoxy. I work with the epoxy as much as I can, but when I notice that it's still running, I wait for a while, it stiffens up, and it'll hold position in the holes that I put it in. And it takes a long time to do a bowl like that because a lot of the holes and voids are on the side. And I gotta have it sitting so it'll stay there to harden. You know, it's a real slow process. But I end up getting there. The question that's come up with me here quite often is the brushes and how to apply it. I don't know if anybody, I'm sure some of you have seen the fellow from back east, Jim Sprague. He does flat coat. He uses a basic brush to apply his resin, or his flat coat resin. And I think he puts on too much and he has a mess, but you know, he's doing it commercially. He's trying to do it as quick as he can. I can't say that I've done anything. He's only got one coat on it. You need at least 2. Like this bowl here has got at least 5 on it. So it's how it dries, and what you end up with after it's dry is when you decide if you need another coat.
Do you know how much time between coats?
I have done that, and there's some cases that I just applied a new coat on it. But sanding it between coats is only necessary if you've got a bunch of bubbles that you can burn off. Take the high spot off.
And how much time do you take between one coat and the next?
At least a day.
A day?
Yeah, you need at least 24 hours. And if you find that you start sanding it and the resin balls up and you can't sand it properly, just leave it for another day. It's just being fussy. Temperature is probably going to affect it in the time that you had where it is, what you're doing with it. It sometimes just takes a little longer. I actually, sorry?
Do you have to wet sand?
No, you don't have to. If I'm sanding after first coat, I'm only using 320 grit sandpaper, and you don't have to have it real smooth. If you've got scratches in the wood, it'll maybe show, but in the resin, it covers it.
Do you use that denatured alcohol in between coats?
You can if you want, but if it's dusty and you want to clean it up a little bit, a damp cloth like I just got a little bit on here, I just wipe it off with that can. Then it's dry, you just apply. Yeah. So that's it. I think that's been pretty good. So we'll go with that. This brush that I bought, I used to work with a cheap hair brush that I buy at the paint stores and that. And I found the hairs coming out terrible, and it would be applying to your product that you're trying to do. It's very frustrating. Since I've been using these brushes, I haven't had a hair come out of one of these yet. So I'm quite happy.
Is there a specific name for it?
I don't know what the hell it is. Paintbrush. I got from Amazon. I get about 20 or 30 of them in a pack for about $12 or $13. It's cheap. Yeah.
The bristles in there, nylon?
It's a nylon, yeah. And I've used this brush about 6 times already, and it's still in really good shape. I just cleaned it. Isopropyl. There you go. So,
Troy, what kind of bristles is that?
it's nylon. Yeah. So, actually, I should have put this on here to do this, so I think I'm going to switch this. I really don't have to rotate this. I don't spill anything, I just put that on there to make it look good. And this is how you apply it. I'm not going to go right to the edge again. I'm thinking that I'm going to transport this stuff, so I want to emphasize the area that I want to work on. And I can do that because this is going to get another 2 or 3 coats to finish it. But this has one coat on it already. I've sanded it back a little bit just to smooth it out. And I want to get the areas where the red is going to be with some clear resin on it. And I'll show you what I do to do the color. Now this application is quite thin. You can see the brush strokes when I run the brush over it. There's no runs. If I just let it sit there, it'll probably have a sag at the bottom. But I'm not going to worry about it for tonight for what I'm showing you guys. If I was at home, I'd do this whole thing inside and out, and I'd rotate it. So,
And how long would you normally?
and rotate it for about 2 to 3 hours, and that's it. when it's set up, when it gets, it'll be sticky, so it's not moving anywhere. That's all you need, Ken. It doesn't have to go all night. I was doing the rotation on my lathe, but I wanted to get away from that, so we come up with this, and it's a very handy little piece. Okay, now we're going to mix some color. And how do we do that? It's simple. We need one more container. And we need some resin. And all I take, I'm not going to use all of it because I need more to go on to that after, so I take a little bit of this resin out of here. And stick it in here. As little as there is, it's almost nothing. Now we're going to go to the actual color. And how much do we put in? 1 drop is too much. So what I do is I put a drop on the paper.
Is that acrylic paint, Stu?
Basically it is, but this is the epoxy coloring, is what it is. I have used acrylic paint to color epoxy. Look at that, just touch that little mixer in there, and with the little bit of resin that I have, that's enough color. I'm going to give it a little bit more. So, in using that much, you can see how long a 2-liter package can last. And now, what I'm going to do to apply this, I'll just turn this down so you can see it.
Do you have to use your left hand?
Yeah, you do. So if you're right-handed, you're going to have a mess. Okay.
Do you also do that in the first coat, or do you purposely?
Nope. Put the brush coat on the wood only. And that's it. Let it dry. This is where it comes in that if you don't like what color you put, you can change it. I can wipe that off now. If you put that on wood, it's there to stay. Okay, so this is a nice feature about doing this. Okay, now, what resin I've got left here.
Do you feather out the edges of the dots you put on?
Basically, that's it. I feel like Bob Ross here painting.
It's a happy little tree.
Yep.
Should be doing it on the ceiling.
Yep.
Still, you experimented with blending your colors, right?
I haven't yet, but that's coming. I started working with it the other day there. I wanted to try some different colors, but then, getting some different effects. And I'm not ready to apply it yet, but that's coming. And even some of these, I might try some different color with it. I like the pineapple. That's it's like gold, really. And I usually use the pineapple as a sparkle, like a metal flake. After the next coat I put on here, if I wanted to have some glitter to it, I'd add some pineapple. And I'd apply that pretty much the same way as I do the red. In spots, and then blend it from there. See, there was something there, I thought I had too much. All I did was wipe it off.
So Stu, that coloring should be like a fast color now. It should fade out like your
That's what I'm hoping for.
natural wood.
It's going to take a year or two to prove it to me, but I think this should stay.
You know what paint would probably not fade out is polycarbonate paint. You put in RC car bodies.
Yeah, it could maybe. I don't know how it would mix with the resin.
This won't fade. I've had
Epoxy
colored
won't
epoxy.
allow it to
It
fade.
stay for years.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. I think this will. I really do.
yeah, it does.
Yeah,
Can't guarantee the wood will stay the same color.
Right.
But the paint will.
yeah, yeah.
At this point, it's just being an artist.
Right. But
I've seen it as-
I don't label myself as an artist, that's for sure. At least in the paint part of it, anyway. That's basically it. I would let that dry, and if I find it's a little bit thick in a few spots, I might take my oscillating sander to it and just take it down a little bit, feather it out a bit more.
Do you rotate it after?
I don't have to in this because there's so little resin on it, it's not going to be flying anywhere. It's just going to let it sit. Yeah. If it does sag a little bit, it's going to be very little, and I can clean that up. I'm not going to worry about it.
Can you use heat to speed it up?
That's right.
Can you use heat to speed
Yes, you can, but I don't think it's really necessary. There's a few bubbles in here. I am going to run the torch on it just to clean up with what bubbles I can and leave it.
I'm not sure that the heat won't thin it out, actually, like make it runnier, I'm not sure.
Yeah. But if you're going to be doing flat coat, you need one of these. There's other torches on the market too, the bigger ones. They throw too much heat, and it's a little bit too much dangerous, and you could wreck your piece. But these little ones, little torches, are perfect for anything that I do. And I've had this torch for years, and I know my son sells them in his truck. He's a Mac tool dealer now, and he has this exact torch at about $80. I was in Costco 2 days ago, and they had a special on torches. They use them in the kitchen. $33. So I'd be buying it there before I find it anywhere else.
I think Canadian Tire about 26.
Yeah, and I bought another one at Princess Auto last year. I think it was about $25, $30.
Canadian Tire have the $26 one on for $12 now.
Ah, perfect. You get two. Yeah, yeah. So there it is.
Thanks.
You learned anything?
That's great.
Hey, success.
So with such a thin coat, I just have to question the title of flood coating. Just say-
Yeah, yeah.
I had a picture.
You're right.
Flood.
Yeah. The flood is this when it's finished. It looks like glass. Like I said, it's got at least 5 coats on it. And I don't think it needs any more. I think I got it all pretty much.
There's no polish or anything that's.
Nothing else is on this. This is
Five coats
strictly
done.
a flood, and that's it. Yeah. Yeah.
You wax them afterwards?
Nope, I haven't yet. No. Yeah.
You have to do a lot of sanding now,
No.
at the end? Yeah.
No. Another thing that I've been dabbling in is trying to do almost like repairs, voids. And you see this piece here, this was almost broken off. Okay, so how do you fix it? You can't just pour resin on and leave it there. Piece of tape on the back. Fill it up with resin. Now you can see it's a little bit rough. I'll clean that up with a little Dremel, try to make it look real, and that'll be the repair that I would do on this. Finish sanding it more, and go with a mud coat. I might add some glitter to this, make it look kind of shiny and sparkle. Just a little dish. That'll be it.
What did it come from? What was the?
I'm not sure what this one is. I got two pieces of it. They're both off the same, same piece. But I can't remember what's in it.
Center of the window, or?
Yeah.
Slightly yellow.
I think it probably is, Ken, because I know it did have a bunch of willow, because I'm just not sure.
It looks like
Yeah.
a piece of rock.
Yeah, yeah. But there's another board here that I'm working with. That's the pineapple color that I use. And I'm going to fill that in a little bit more. And that should look okay when I'm finished. This is another crotch wing that I had sitting, and this had a real bad crack. This side, this thing was separated quite a bit, and I reworked it and sanded it all out. I filled it. Here's a little void here that I have to repair. I've got to fill that. I'll use a colored resin and leave that to dry and then sand it back, and I'll just have a little piece that I have to touch up. Another void at the back here, that'll get cleaned up and we'll end up with something like this. So there's a lot you can do with this stuff for patching holes and giving some emphasis for color and make it stand out to something different. I like working with it. I think it's rewarding to finish up a piece that.
To me, the unique part is you aren't using a lot of wood, but it's beautiful.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Here, we'll pass this one around. This one's got, I think, two coats on it and some color. So let that one go around and you can see a little closer look at what I did with it. Yeah, what else have I got?
What speed on your lathe were you turning that at? Just like
Oh, this is
just
slow.
on the lowest setting you got?
Oh,
On
yeah.
the lathe itself though?
Yeah, on my lathe, I don't have a tack on my lathe, but it's probably about 50.
Oh,
Yeah. Like this is, I can vary this too. I can get some more speed to it if I need it, but I don't.
Where did you get the motor?
Bert. I told ya, B&D Engineering. There's the D, Delisle.
Basement design engineering, that's Stew.
What's that?
BD&E, basement design engineering?
No, Bremner Delisle. I'm in it too, you know.
They all came out with Amazon, so it's a little motor controller, motor and a set of gears, all from Amazon. So it's probably about $8 worth of hardware that's Stew mounted on the aluminum frame. But it'll spin up to 100 RPM, no problem.
Yeah, barbecue was just really
I was going to use a barbecue motor. I had that idea at first, but to make the shaft work off the barbecue motor, it has to sit a certain way. Okay, it's got to sit with the drive on the top and the mount below it, and to hook it up to a shaft. And to make it all work, it was going to take a little bit of bugging around, and I just didn't feel like it. And, I was talking to Bert about this, and he came up with this idea. And before you know it, he bought the stuff, and we started putting it together, and we ended up with this. So But I think it's pretty cool. It works really good, so I'm gonna go with that for now.
And it's very compact.
Yeah, it is really. I built it so I got a piece of plywood on the bottom here. I stick that in my vise, and it sits there. And to bring it here, I knew to sit level. I just brought another little piece of plywood to sit underneath there, and I can clamp it flat to the table. I added this bar to hold my power arm, so I got this to work with at the same time. I can do something there too, so it works good for my demonstration purposes. So.
That piece you're working on, is that, kind of wood, is that?
This is Manitoba maple. It's a crotch that I had, and there's two branches out here, and up the bottom. So.
Hey Stu, when you're done your piece, how do you cut that bottom off the clamp to?
How do I cut what?
Long tenon that you have.
The foot off of it?
Yeah.
A vacuum chuck onto the lathe and turn it off. Yeah. So far, that's what I've been able to do. If I can't vacuum chuck it, I'll make a jam chuck that will hold it on the chuck side and tailstock support on the back side. You can clean it off easy enough. Just got to be careful, slow and light cuts. You'll get there. So. Sorry? Yeah?
How do you get it not to work when it's that fit?
Doesn't matter if it works. This is worked all to hell. This is, I couldn't spin this and turn it, do anything with it. It goes all over the place. Yeah. See, there's 3/5 in this piece here. When you come up and have a look at this, you'll see it. You can feel it on the outside. It's just a big bump, and it just adds the character to the piece. It's not going to be as smooth like a bowl. It's, that's the type of wood that it is, and the feature of it. I've left some bark on this. There's some, but not quite as much as I would like to have. But some of them have got a bit more bark. And if you take a look at this one, I've actually added some color right on the ridge, just in a couple of spots. You can do that to emphasize the outside piece of it, so it can look attractive too, I guess. That's whatever your imagination can come up with. Yeah. I have another little piece that I turned. It was a piece of Russian olive, I think, and it's basically a square bowl, and one side had a bunch of bark on it. Well, I left it and I just flooded over it, and I put some color to it. I think I used red on that one too, and it looks pretty good. And 3 or 4 coats of flood over top of it. It's all smoothed out. It looks good. So, the opportunities are endless. It's whatever your imagination can come up with for different colors and schemes and different things to do to it. And it's there, whatever you can think up. There it is. I don't know. Any other questions? You want to come up here and look at anything? Yeah.
Have you got any suggestions on the selection of wood to start with? How do you pick a good
A good one to start with is birch or the Manitoba maple. I've got a lot of success with that, and if you just want to start, that's what I would go with. Yeah, yeah. The wood is plentiful around here. You can get lots of it, so it's not hard. I'm sure you'll come up with it.
Do you get a lot of bubbling on your first coat?
First coat, you get more bubbles. You do, because it's what it is. It's the air coming out of the wood, and it's got to dissipate somehow. And what you can torch off is good, and if you don't, let it dry and just sand it. And like this has only got 1 coat of flood on it. This area was flood coated that you can see how rough it is. And then and this is the same, and I've sanded that. So it gives you an idea how rough it can be. It looks awful when you first get that first coat, but stick with it.
Have you ever tried putting it in the active chamber?
No, I haven't even bothered. No. No, I haven't. And
So what grit do you use between coats?
I use 320.
320.
Yeah. Yeah. And if you feel you're making too much of a scratch on it, go up from there. It's very forgiving. You could probably use 180 grit and still do the same thing.
Can you tell us something more about the pine cone?
Yeah. What they are is a jack pine cone from BC. And I got a bag of them at home. We brought home from our property in Osoyoos. Built a lot there, but I don't have that property anymore. But my wife had picked up a bunch of cones, and I got to come up with something for it. So I have a plastic drink cup.
Plastic drink cup?
Yeah. The cone went in,
Yeah.
and the resin filled up in the pressure pot. Out it come, and I chucked it on this side, machined it off to my shape that I wanted pretty much, except for the finish on here. Bored the center, 1 7/16 for the light. Now, when you look at these, two of them, one light is deeper than the other. The shallow light that I put in is too shallow. This was the first one I did. And what happens is, the light is a little bit too low. So, this one I bored it about a ½ inch deeper. And then I bored, 1 inch beyond that, 1 7/16. So the 1 7/16 holds the light. And then you got the area above to accommodate the glow. Now, when you drill this, it's all white inside there. It's all scratched and drilled. How do you fix that? Lo and behold, we have flat coat. That's all it takes. Just one layer of flat coat went in here, and you can't even tell there's any scratches in there. Yeah.
Another thing a guy can do is on the cone before you fill it.
Yep.
If you take dab of floor coat, just dab it.
Yep, some different colors.
Use that white powder.
Yeah.
And then it really highlights
Yeah.
the
But
cone.
when you look close at this, if you did that, here, look at this, Ken. If you did that, it would have to be inside the pieces. You can't put it on the tip because you turn it off.
Right.
Yeah. But one more thing I'll tell you, if you guys want to do one of these, I think, and I'm going to do the next one if I make one. Somehow I'm going to chuck it to hang on to the truck, and then just going to knock the edges off it. There's sharp corners on here. When you stick it down in the cup, it could cut the cup, and you'll get a leak. But just take sandpaper just to go to the outside, knock the lumps off, just to make it a bit smoother, and I think you'll be safer then than if not. Yeah, that turned out pretty neat. There's a timed light in there. I turn it on 6 hours later, it turns off. It goes on at 5 o'clock, comes off at 11. Yeah, so. Yeah. Yeah. It'd be perfect for these, yeah. I didn't use it. Yeah. 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 So, anyway, that's.
A good place to get those cones.
Yeah, I could just hand this one around
is in
too.
the Shishwap country.
Yeah, any place in BC interior, you can get some big cones. The cone that I have is about that size. I got about a dozen. Yeah, anybody wants to look at anything here, you're welcome to do it. Thank you.
All right. So whoever wants to come up with their items here and tell us a little bit about it. Whoever wants to go first? Nobody?
Sure.
Yeah.
Are we doing show and tell?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
So these are just, if you ever look up Harvey Myers, he does basket weave, I don't know, whatever it's called or whatever. Anyway, so this is just a piece of maple that, you know, you go to Windsor Plywood, you look at their shorts and you try and find something that's as wide as you can buy, and they're about 1 inch thick. And then you just basically turn the platter and use just a beading tool. So these little beads are 1/8 of an inch thick. And then you can buy a wood burning tool that you can make the lines that go this way, 1/8 of an inch, 1/8 of an inch. So every time you touch it, then you get the wood burn thing. And then just the coloring is India ink. And then just a couple of shots of lacquer just to seal everything in there. And you can do the back if you want, or whatever you feel like doing. Right? So, and it takes some time. And there's also when you, yeah, steady hand and patience and stuff. And then to do the pattern, there's a free program that you can download on your computer. It's called Inkscape. And Inkscape has some grid things, and you can get a polar circular grid. And however many divisions you have this way, I think this one has 112 or 110, something like that. So then you can set it as 110, and then you can fill in the little squares and kind of make the design on the computer. And if you don't like it, you can just start from scratch again. And then once you get what you think you like, then it's just a matter of deciding on the color scheme. And again, with this Inkscape program, you can put the colors in if you want and kind of see what it looks like on the computer. And if you think you like it, then you just go forward and have at her. And, you know, I don't know, 20 or 30 or 40 hours later, but what else? You know? Yeah. During the summertime at the lake, when it's evening and the sun is up until 10:30, you know, it's a couple of hours worth of just sit there and play, and there you go. So.
How do you transfer that design to the lake?
I print it off, and then I just look at it, and then I just color in each little square as we go. Right? It's just a matter of coloring in with it. And again, the India ink, I use India ink because that's what Harvey Meyer, kind of the guru of this kind of stuff in terms of wood turning community. That's what he recommended. And if you go to Delta Art and Drafting Supplies on 120th Street, and they're $3 a pen, or you can go to Michael's and pay $7 a pen if you want. But you know, and usually, you get quite a bit of color for, you know, a $3 pen. And
So how do you make those lines again?
go ahead.
You got an indexing wheel?
I do. I made an indexing wheel, and so again, all I did was I printed off the polar, and this was just a hack. I just printed off so let's say this has 96 of these. Yeah, So I just printed off that polar grid 96, put it on a piece of just 1/8 inch plywood. My lathe has 1 inch and a quarter or whatever it is, a spindle. I just cut a hole right in the middle, put that on, and then I just have a little marker here, and I just turn it every one, and then I just draw a pencil line. So now there's 96 pencil lines on here. And then now that you have the pencil lines, then you just take that wood burning tool. It's got a 1/8 little groove, and just down you go. So, but again, that's what takes the longest. If there's 96 of these, if there's 30 of these, you know, you'll have almost 3,000 touches with your wood burning pen before you've done that, and then you color after that. So,
How many beers is that?
No, actually, you could have a few beers, but then the worst part is if you screw up, and that's the hardest thing. And again, when I watched the thing by Harvey Myers, the way he does this is he just puts a little dot on every one, because you can scrape off the end of the ink, but if you color all the way and then you screw up or you miscount it or something, then how do you get that off? Well, you don't, right? Then you're messed up all your work. So I used his advice, and I just put a little dot everywhere, and then that way if I miscount or screw up or put it in the wrong place, you can just take an X-Acto knife, just scrape off the little dots that are in the wrong place, and then just redo. But, so yeah, and mistakes get made. So yeah, when I'm doing this, no beers. So that's just the way, because it's too much work, you know, after 30 hours, then you, really? So.
Lots of patience.
Sorry? Yeah. If you want something done in a half a day, choose something else. So I'm not sure what that would be, but yeah, choose something else. So yeah, I think they turn out good. So yeah. Just a spray on lacquer. Yeah, just a rattle can type of thing. I get it at Bel Air or Industrial Supplies, whatever theirs is. It just, yeah, it doesn't bleed because everything's wood burned, right? So when you're making these screws, then so it's on my lathe, it's spinning. I have a beading tool, 1/8 of an inch beads. I do about this much at a time, and then I take a little piece of arborite and I sharpen it, and then I make it really thin. And then I spin quite quickly, put the little piece of arborite in there. Now that groove is wood turned at the bottom, or wood burned at the bottom. Each of these grooves is wood burned on the lathe with that little piece of arborite. And then each of these lines this way is wood burned with the wood burning tool with the 1/8 of an inch tool.
And that's a half circle.
Yes, that's right. So, okay. Harvey Meyer. M-E-Y-E-R, I believe. So,
A new rabbit hole for you.
of my Faber-Castell, India. Yeah, Faber-Castell, India. So, and they come. Some of them come with a point that's like 0.1 diameter, and then they've got, some of them have a brush tip, and then some of them come with quite, like this stuff at the back. This stuff comes with almost a bigger felt pen type tip as well. So yeah. Okay, that's it for me. Somebody else here.
Okay, so I guess you guys know I'd like to make Christmas ornaments, and so this month I made a couple of Christmas ornaments with these weighted stands, and these are going to be donated to the Cross Cancer for Jeff somewhere around here. Anyway, he'll be taking these and giving them to the Cross Cancer Clinic for their Christmas tree, or their Christmas program.
You have your stands weighted as well, Bert?
Yes, these stands, I think last month I talked about them. There's a 3/4 inch hole on an angle in there, and it's full of lead weights. So there's about 100 grams of weight on the bottom, so they don't flop over when you bump them. It's lead. I cast lead weights.
Fishing weight.
No, lead. I made my own mold weights.
Pretty new to turning, so this is a plate. It's a wall plate I did actually, maple, and I just did a little indentation in the bottom and did a resin pour in the center. This is a decoration for that, so just a little. And I just brought in a piece of Manitoba maple, or it might be that box elder, I'm not sure which. But I did, and the red has stayed pretty good actually. It's just a regular varnish.
I found about a 3-foot log, maple log on Facebook, and it has a 14-inch burl at the bottom, which I'm going to get some professional advice before I cut into that. But just at the top part of the bowl, I played around with, and I brought them because I have never seen colors like that. So people, when you see it, they come to the house and they won't believe that.
Yeah, it's gorgeous.
I've just been playing around around here a little bit, I decided I had to make a couple of honey dippers. And once you start making these, it's like popcorn. You just keep on looking for a little chunk of wood that you can use. This is out of an apple tree I had in my yard that I had to cut down. This one was a chunk of cherry that we scavenged out of the yard in BC, and my sister-in-law and her husband moved out of their yard. They had this big log cherry tree that they cut down, so I took a bunch of pieces of that, and I had made something out of it, never liked it, so I turned it down and made it into a little honey dipper. And this is, I just made these, something to sit them in. That's just a chunk of apple from one of my apple trees. And then I don't know if you remember a couple of months ago, Bert was showing us how to do off-center turnings. Yeah. So I figured I'd do a couple, just playing around. Stu lent me one of his off-center chucks, so I played with it, and that's not bad. And this bowl was just a chunk of wood I had kicking around. It was all cracked up. Now that I've seen how easy it is, how Stu fixes these things. This is CA glue that's in this one, so you can see through it. It works. No other takers?
I've been doing a lot of work with Caragana. I really like the wood grain and the different colors that you find in the Caragana, especially from what I used to consider a weed. In Saskatchewan, you seem to have to trim that hedge all the time. But the Caragana can get really punky, so I started using stabilizing resin, which is vacuumed and then heat cured. And allows me to get really thin walls on the glasses and the stems as well, that I can go pretty thin with the stems. And they get pretty sturdy. So I stabilize the pieces, the blanks, and then I put the blanks in cast them in resin to hold them together. And then on these ones here I did some captive rings and came out pretty cool.
Hi.
My wife got into making couture boards, and she would pour resin, kind of river kind of things. So I had a mold set up with a whole bunch of pine cones in there. And when she was done, whatever resin was over, she just poured it in there. And she kept on building whatever color she was doing. So I got about 4 or 5 of these like this now to turn. And they kind of turned out pretty good. I've never done that before with pine cones. And I saw the thing with the resin, and I started making the segment bowls, and I kind of like it from the woodworking point of view kind of thing, but I was reading about how people were having trouble with the center part here with the wood and that kind of stuff, solid piece of wood on with this and expanding that. So I decided I would try to do a resin insert bottom like that, and it turned out pretty good. I think I'll continue doing that kind of thing, so I think that looks cool. Yeah.
Most of you will probably remember Elio Menace from Lloydminster. I grabbed a chunk of, a few pieces of American elm from him and turned it green, and I ended up with quite a flat spot in one of these openings, and it didn't look good at all. I was not happy with it. Originally I turned this in 2017, and last summer I put in a bunch of skylights for my sister-in-law, and she had all this metal left over. They're about 24 inches long to go through your attic to your ceiling, and I left them in Saskatchewan for about a year, and then I thought, nope, I've gotta go pick that stuff up because there's got to be something sculptural I can do with it. So I just cut the vase apart and just made individual chunks in each of these and glued them in using acrylic gel. And because the metal has no movement to it at all, and this elm is going to move quite a bit, I had to use quite a bit of acrylic. So I mixed up different colors here and just used a syringe, tiny syringes, to put the grout in. And so far it's held okay. And that's it.
I think I'm going to stay back here. This is a fairly colorful piece of box elder. It had been dead for about 10 years, and there was a bit of good wood in it, and I got a few bowls and this one vase. This is my first attempt at epoxy, and I goofed a little bit. I wanted a little bit of black at the top, and I put it in too soon, and it kind of went all the way down, and so it's a little smoky looking. But and this is just another rendition of a tea light with pine cone. And this piece here is Stew's, I believe it was Stew's wife's friend. She had a big tree, 56 years old, that she had to take down, and Stew mentioned it to a bunch of us, and we went out and picked up some of it. And it's very colorful, non-burl, but just loaded with color. And, yeah.
That piece feels really light. Is it all solid?
Oh, no, it's all turned.
But it's not hollow.
Yeah, it's all hollowed out.
It's a two-piece.
Oh,
is it a two-piece form, or
okay?
Is it a two-piece form?
No.
No.
No, it's just one piece.
How did you reach back? How did you reach in there?
From here.
Oh.
Instead of the top.
So you said it wasn't two pieces.
You got it.
You lied.
Okay, last one here, I guess. Everybody's using epoxy, so I figured I had to use epoxy too on a segmented vessel. So I made a feature ring, the ring here, using epoxy, using the wood mounted in a mold. So I had a mold for the outside, a mold for the inside, and then put the pieces of wood around it and anchored them, and then poured it full of epoxy. And then later on I turned this as a ring, flattened top and bottom ends of it, and then put it in my segmented vessel as I went. I also poured a small epoxy ring to the bottom, and again, that, like the other fellow says, it gets rid of any problem with wood expansion in the bottom, but it's pretty small. Yeah.
Yeah. Wow.
Which threading device do you have, Bob?
The fellow from Red Deer Company.
Oh, yes.
I bought one of those.
Oh.
Yeah, works well. 4 different thread types. Takes a long time to set up. If you were doing a bunch of them, it really works fast. But if you're only using one, it's doing it, it takes a long time.